Hello everyone and welcome back to the Aligned Games channel. So today I am doing something a little bit different from what I've done before, and I am actually presenting a tutorial. Now this is something that I've tried in the past, but I only did 3 episodes of a series which I haven't actually finished a couple of years ago, so probably at some point in the future I'll finish that series, but for this one we are actually going to be making a binocular in Unity. Now, tutorials are something that helped me a lot when I was younger, so it's something that I want to try and do to give a little bit back to my community and do a few tutorials for free, and perhaps in the long run make a Patreon for my tutorials and maybe a Udemy course or something like that, but that's getting ahead of myself. This is just to give back to the community, and because when I was younger, about a decade ago when I started to really get into commercial game design, I used a lot of tutorials on YouTube at that point to help me with things that I was struggling with. Now the landscape has changed a lot, especially with AI, but I still think that it's valid and that it's a tool that can be used to help people. So with that said, let's get into it, and let's make some binoculars that can be used in any FPS or third person is fine as well. Any game really where you have a perspective. So the first thing that we are going to be doing is looking at our project hierarchy and at our scene. So I set up things in a unique way. Now this is a scene that is pre-made that I made it for another asset package which I sell, and you are welcome to check out my asset packages on my Unity store, which is the Aligned Games Unity store. There will be links in the description, but this is from the first person controller package that I made a few years ago, and this is just a terrain, and so what we have is, we have a basic player prefab with a character controller on it and a capsule collider on it, and this also has the movement script, and then we have a camera with a camera manager, and that's about it. So if we launch our scene, you'll see we have just a basic FPS controller that we can look around and move around. Now this does not have jumping, but it does have ground checks, and it does have gravity. The gravity is set very low right now, so it looks like he's floating, but it does work. And this will be included in the package that you can download when we are done. So what we are going to do is we are going to make a binocular system that can be added onto this. Now, for that to work, we are going to need a few things, and the main of those being post-processing for setting up the different volumes that we are going to be using. So, post-processing is for things like screen effects and, visual things. And we are going to be using things like lens distortion, field of view, and perhaps some vignetting or something like that to give the binocular the perfect sort of look for a binocular. And then we're going to have a second profile that is just for the game in general without the binoculars. Then apart from that, we are going to have a canvas that is also going to have a image on it that will be the image that is the binoculars image, and I'll show you that in a second. But first, let me explain how the project is set up. We have our art. Now, I'm just showing you this because if you download this, then you'll know where to find things. So in the project hierarchy, we have our art, which is just visual 3D things. I'm not using this humanoid male right now, but he is in this package. And then apart from that, we have some textures, and then we have our interface and our scripts. Now, we do have a day and a night scene, but for this tutorial I'm just going to be showing you the day scene, but the night scene will be set up, and you'll see the skybox is included as well. This skybox I always use for my packages, for my asset packages, and I always do a day and a night scene for my asset packages. So this is sort of just the default Aligned Games setup for the packages that I sell, but I will give you this stuff for free alongside this package, because I'm gonna if I make more tutorials, I'm gonna reuse this stuff. So with that said, let's move on to the actual making of the binoculars. Now we need a binocular graphic, and I've already got one. I sort of made this one. I looked on Google for some ideas, and then I made this. Now this is just a basic binocular view. So what we do is we add a canvas. So you go UI canvas, and this canvas, then we are probably going to be using screen space overlay, and we are going to do scale the screen size. Now I like to always go HD for this, but you can do it for your use case. If it's mobile or a tablet, it's going to be different. And then I always just put it at 0.5 match width or height. This is not a tutorial for canvassing, so I'm just going to move on. Then we have to add a image. We're going to call this binocular background, and this is going to be the image that our binocular texture goes onto. Now for this texture, it is important that you make it a sprite, and you have to click alpha is transparency, and make sure that this has some transparency so that you can actually use it as a transparent overlay. So we drag this into our sprite, and there we have it. Now we just need to fix the stretching. So we go to canvas stretch, and that is gonna cause it to always be outstretched over the entire canvas. So we remove the transform vector data, the size data, and now it is stretched always to our screen height and width because of how we set it up. This is quite a nice feature that Unity has. It's not perfect, but it works pretty well, and it works well enough for this use case. And this is a good way to set up your canvases to make sure that things are never off screen or being stretched in a weird way. Obviously this can cause some weird stretching, but it's a relatively safe way to do things. Okay, so we have that set up. This will be included in the project, but I advise you to make and use your own. But you are free to use this if you want to. Now we have to look at post-processing. So to get a post-processing sort of setup, you go to Package Manager, Window Package Manager, and then you go to Unity Registry, and then you search for post-processing. It is in Unity Registry, and then we go post-processing. Why am I not seeing? Oh, I'm already on it. Okay, post-processing, and then this is already in the packet in the project, but if it isn't, then there will be an install button here. You install that, and now the post-processing package is in your project, and you can now just start using it. So the way you do that is you have to now create profiles for this. So let's first set up prefab. So we call this post-processing. Now what you have to do is you have to now layer this in the post-processing layer. So this layer doesn't exist by default, so you can just add it, and then you have to add anything that is post-processing, like your camera and your prefab, into this layer. So we do that. Now we have to make volumes for this. So we will call this first one, we'll just call this volume 1 for now. Now this is going to be the volume that is affecting the normal camera, and then the second volume is going to be for the binocular specifically. So we do post-processing volume, we click global, and we now don't have any post-processing profiles, so we make one, and that will be in our scene. I like to add this to its own little folder in the hierarchy. Volume 1, that's fine, and then we just add some basic effects to it. So ambient occlusion. I'm not going to get too much into post-processing for now. I'm just going to add a few things, and then you can, if you want to learn about how post-processing works, I'm sure there's plenty of data on that. So we just add a few basic things. We have ambient occlusion, chromatic aberration, color grading, screen space reflections, and vignetting. And then we have to actually give them a little bit of effect. We do HDR with post exposure, and we do the ACE as tone mapper. And we go, I think we'll go high definition range, and we'll just reduce the post exposure. Maybe even no post exposure for this. Otherwise it just gives it a grayed out sort of HD look, which is just too much for this. That's okay for now. You can play around with this and make it how you want it to be. For chromatic aberration, let's go 0.3. We don't want it to be overwhelming, but that's even too much. Let's go 0.2. But we want to be able to see it. And then for vignetting, I usually do about 0.4. Again, you don't want it to be overwhelming, but you want to be able to see it. It depends on the sort of look that you want. If you want a very vignetted look like this, that's fine too, but I prefer something like this. Screen space reflections, your camera's rendering path has to be in deferred for screen space reflections to work. But I do think that ambient occlusion works better with the forward path. So I think let's put it on forward, and let's remove screen space reflections for now. So we do forward rendering, and we just have a few basic post-processing features set up. Now we're going to do a second profile for the binoculars themselves. Call this volume 2, and we just add one or two things for this. So we are going to add depth of field, and we are going to add lens distortion. We'll do about 50, and we add some motion blur, but that's up to you. So that's just to give it, so if I put that in here, you'll see what it looks like. It just sort of makes it look a bit more like a magnifying glass. Okay, and then we do volume 2 for that, and we drag the correct volume to it, and there you have it. So that's sort of the binocular look that we are going to go for. Now you can see here we have our canvas set up already. Let me just take a sip of my coffee. Okay, we have that set up. So now what's left to do, and this is not a very complicated thing to do, the whole binocular thing. It's something that can be used in many games, but it's very easy to set up. Now we just need to make a script to make it work correctly. I just need to copy something from the other scene. This is my mistake. Just an info text so that you are able to switch between the two scenes, but you can ignore that. It's just something that I'm doing for having a day and night scene that work together. That is fine. It's just on a weird place. Let me just make sure those are in the same place. Minus 35. Minus 35. Okay. So now we are able to switch between the two scenes. But for this, for the tutorial, I'm just going to do the day scene. Okay, so let's get into the script. Now you know that we have the behavior scripts and the manager scripts already set up for the player to be able to work. You know, in terms of the just in terms of the moving and the looking around. So now we're going to add a new script for the binoculars, and we will call these binocular manager, and we do this in the manager subsection of scripts. And this script is basically just going to control the binoculars and just allow it to work correctly. Okay, so we have to add above the namespace, we have to add Unity engine rendering post-processing, and we do this to let Unity know that we are going to be doing going to be calling post-processing, because we have to be able to switch between the two volumes at runtime. So we have to set up those volumes. So we do post processing volume 1. We aren't finding the call to this. Is it just post-process? There we go. Post-process volume, and then post-process volume 1. This is for no camera, and post-process volume 2. This is for for the binoculars. Then we have to make a reference to our canvas to be able to switch on and off the image. Binocular overlay image. This is the image that the binoculars sort of have to make it look like binoculars. Actually we should call this, I pressed F10 by mistake. Canvas, not image, because we aren't calling specifically to the image for now, we're calling to the canvas. Then the way that we are going to be doing the actual zooming, so I didn't explain this, but the way that I want the binocular to work is I want you to be able to zoom in and out with the binocular, sort of as you can do with a real binocular. Now the way that this works is we actually changed the camera's field of view to achieve this, so we have to set up a few values for that. So those are mostly going to be floats, and we will do a minimum zoom field of view, and then we will do a maximum zoom field of view, and then we will do a zoom speed as well, and this is just to control how quickly you can zoom in and out by using your scroll wheel. We need a default field of view value as well, because we are going to be able to remember how far zoomed in we were when we zoom back in. And then we need a boolean. We can make this a private boolean. Default is binocular on. So this is just to toggle whether the binoculars are on or off, and we need this information to do, you know, everything that we have to do with that binocular. And okay, we also need a current field of view float, so that we can call back to what the field of view was when we last used it. Okay, so those are the variables set up. I code a little bit weirdly. I'm completely self-taught with coding, so I have a few weird things that I do that's probably not normal, but I'll never know. So this might annoy some people, the way that I do it, because I space things weirdly. It's a little bit of a, I don't want to say ADHD, but you know what I mean. It's a little bit of a tick for me. So it's just the way that I like to organize, but you can do it however you want. So let's get into coding the functionality of the binoculars, and yeah, let's get started on that. So first up, we want the default field of view to be equal to the camera. Did we set up the camera? I don't think we did. Okay, let's set up the camera. So we need to call back to the player camera as well, and we have to set that up. So the player camera, which is just a camera. In some cases you'll want to find these things dynamically in the scene, but for now we're just gonna drag them in the inspector. So we want the default field of view to be equal to the camera's current field of view when we start, which is probably 60, I think. And then we want to set the current field of view to the default field of view. So we are telling the default field of view that its value is, in this case, I think 60. And then we are telling the current field of view that it is also now 60 because it is the default field of view. And now we have to enable the correct post-processing volumes. So what do we call those? Post-process volume 1. I don't really want to type that out. Okay, so post-process volume 1 we have to enable, because remember this is the normal post-processing volume, and volume 2 is the one that we use when we are actually looking through the binoculars. So we want to switch those off because we aren't looking through the binoculars right now. Let me think if I'm missing something else that we need to do. Oh, the canvas as well. So the canvas, the player canvas, what do we call that? Binocular overlay canvas. That needs to be switched off because we are not going to be looking through the binoculars when we start. And this data now basically has the binoculars off and the post-processing off when we start the scene. Then we have to set up the value for being able to actually use the binoculars. So we do that by getting the input for whichever key we are going to use. So we're probably going to do B for binoculars, I guess. So we'll do, I think we'll do B for that, but you can make this whatever you want. If you want it to be E or F, that's up to you. And then we're going to set up a new void function for this, which is going to be toggle binocular vision. So when we press B, we toggle the binoculars. So let's set that up. We'll make this a public void so that we can call to it from other scripts, because we're probably going to want to do that for interface and so on later on. Once again, I know I probably don't code normally, but this is just how I taught myself to code through many years of just trying things out. We didn't define this as a void. So this is the toggle for switching on and off the, I spelled that incorrectly, binocular vision. Okay, let's get this set up. We have a boolean for the binocular, so we are going to toggle that, and then we have to also, of course, basically do these things again for the on and off state. Just give me a second to think about the best way to do this. Let's do volume 1. So yeah, that's what I wanted to do. So the enabled value of volume 1 is toggled to the toggle of the binocular. Because we fixed the spelling. Okay, so if the binoculars are on, then volume 1 is on, and we're going to do the same thing for post-processing volume 2, but of course we want the opposite to be true, and apparently Visual Script knows exactly what I want to do. So if we toggle on the binoculars, then post-processing volume 2 is not enabled, and post-processing volume 1 is enabled, although I think that's the wrong way around. But yeah, because it should be, okay, well, let's just switch those, because volume 2 is the binocular volume. Then we have to do the same thing with the canvas. So I think we called it binocular canvas. If the binocular is enabled, then the canvas is enabled. Okay. Then we need to do the field of view that I said we are gonna change according to whether the binoculars are on or off. So if the binocular is on, then the player camera field of view, so we are changing the field of view of the camera, the main camera, to current field of view, and at this stage current field of view is 60. So but that can change according to what the value given to that variable is. Let me just take a sip of coffee again. Okay, so if the binoculars are on, then field of view is current field of view, else current field of view becomes not default field of view, player camera default field of view. Okay, and then we have to set player camera field of view to default field of view. Okay, I think that makes sense. We might need to change it when we test it. But for now we need to make a function for handling the zoom functionality of the binoculars. So we will do another public void because we might need to access this, and we will just call this handle zoom. And for this we need to get the input of the middle mouse button, which is the scroll wheel. So we'll do a float scroll input. Let's just give it some punctuation so Unity doesn't recognize it as that. And then we'll do we need to find the axis for the middle mouse button. I think Unity calls it the mouse scroll wheel, if I remember. I think that's what it's called. Might need to look that up. And then if the binocular is, I just said if again, binocular is switched on, the current field of view should be equal to, we should subtract from it actually, because we're making it smaller and bigger. So we'll subtract scroll input times zoom speed, and zoom speed we set up in the beginning just for how quickly we zoom in and out. Okay, I think that makes sense. And then we need to set we need to clamp the field of view as well, because we don't want it to be able to go over a certain zoom. So we'll do I think that is, we need to clamp current field of view, then we clamp it to min zoom and max zoom. I think that makes sense. And then we need to set the field of view of the camera. The autocomplete sometimes works, but sometimes it really doesn't, you know, which is fine. That's going to be difficult to get right, but yeah, I sometimes want to autofill like some of it, but not all of it, so it's a little bit annoying. I also forget some commands. So we're going to lerp the field of view to get that zoom effect to be smooth. So we'll do we lerp between the player camera's field of view to the current field of view, and we use delta time to make sure that we have a scalable metric for it, and we times that by zoom speed to get that smoothness. And now we just need to add the handle zoom in the update function so that it is always considered. And I think that makes sense. I think this was all we needed to do. Well, let's take a look in the project and see what we have. See how it came out, if we have any problems. Okay, so we add the binocular script to the player camera. Oh, that's just the player. To the player camera. And then we have some things to assign from... did we spell that incorrectly? Let's just see something. Or... just give it a second. Oh, there we go. Okay. So we have to assign our post-processing volume. So we have volume 1 and 2. Then the canvas is... well, we only have the one canvas for now. And then the player camera is this object itself. We should probably just set that in script. The min field of view, we are probably going to do something like 15, and the max will probably be, let's just do 90 for now. Zoom speed will do 5. Default I think is 60, but that will change. Okay, let's see if the script works. Let's test it out. So it should switch off this automatically. It does that. And if we press B, yeah, it seems to work. The zooming, however, does not seem to work. Am I... okay, let's see what I did incorrectly. But for now, the overlay comes on and the post-processing does switch. You can see that in the top window. So we have that fisheye effect and that vignetted effect and the overlay. So it already looks somewhat like binoculars. For another script, I also just need to assign this text. There we go. Okay, let's see if we can find the issue. It's probably going to be something stupid. Just give me a second to look at it and have another sip of my coffee. So the toggling works because we are able to switch it on and off. This zoom isn't being handled right now. Let's take a look at the zoom part. I think this is correct. I think this axis is pre-set up in the input settings. Scroll input times zoom speed, that makes sense. And then we clamp current field of view, min zoom, max zoom. Makes sense. The code seems fine to me. Let's see if we can find the player in the inspector. Now, of course, this is a big part of video game programming is debugging and finding issues when you're sure something should work, but it doesn't. Okay, let's see. Zoom speed, we'll put that higher. Does this have any effect right now? Oh, we don't actually have the access. Okay, so this is obviously a good tip when we're trying to find issues, is just look at the and this is just a punctuation issue, so you just need to look at the debugger. So I just needed to make that a capital letter, and probably the whole thing is going to work now. So just make sure to look at the console at the debugging and don't be like me. Okay, let's see if it works now. So we switch it on. There we go. So now we can zoom in and we can zoom out. That works perfectly. Okay, it's maybe we can maybe do it a bit far, but it's okay. It works well. So we can zoom in really far and we can zoom out quite far. I guess we'll do the zoom out just to the default, which is 60, and the speed should be a lot higher. So let's do like 15. And yeah, I think this is working perfectly. So we can move around, we can use the binocular, we can zoom in, and we can zoom out. So yeah, that's about it. I mean, there's really not much left to do. It works fine. So yeah, I think that's going to be about it for my first proper tutorial. Now again, I am self-taught, so a lot of the things that I do probably are the wrong way or are inefficient in some capacity, but you know, I'm just trying to share some of the knowledge that I've gained. So take it or leave it, you know, whatever you want to do, but you are welcome to use this in your projects, and at least for me this is a useful thing to have. Be sure to check out my Align Games asset stores. If you can support me there, that would be appreciated, as I am trying to do this for a living. And yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if you'd like some more of these. This is not a scripted video, so it's much more laid back than my usual videos. Let me know if you like that sort of recording, and if you like the style that I do with tutorials. Let me stop you know, jabbering on, and say thank you for watching. You are welcome to use this however you like, and I hope you enjoyed it. Follow me on socials. You'll see them below. You'll see my stores below, and check out my games if you have a chance. Operator Ada is going to be launching at some point this year, so any feedback or support on that would be appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, keep creating.